Hello, Admiral Thrawn here, making another massive battle preview for Age of Petty Kings 2.0. This time I am showing off the rosters for the Vale and the Iron Islands, and at the same time attempting to say "and whatnot" as few times as possible. Which I realized I said that quite a bit last time, because I said do that. Anyways, I will be pausing it first to show off the rosters, and then I'll start it up and play the battle, so yeah. Let's start off with, first off, I just want to show something off real quick here. I made a bunch of new unit cards for all the factions. I think they look pretty nice. So yeah, you can just see them down here at the bottom. But let's get rid of them for now so we can get to the fighting. As for the rosters, I'll just go through them really quick here. The Royces of Runestone will have two different recruitment regions. First off, they'll have their super elite cavalry here, the Rune Riders. These are their elite force. They are super expensive. They are also the best cavalry unit in the game, probably the best unit in the game, period. They have their ornate bronze armor covered in runes here, and yeah, you don't want to mess with them. Behind them, we have some generic Outriders. They aren't terribly good. Some from the Northern Vale, the area around Coldwater, and some from the Southern Vale, the area around Runestone. Then, as for their infantry, they'll have crossbowmen from the Southern Vale, archers from the Northern Vale, and then they'll have, these guys here are clan auxiliaries. They'll act as mercenaries, so you can hire them if you want to. And yeah, these are burned men. They have these crummy wooden shields and these spiked clubs. The other clansmen, we have the Stone Crows here with their big, heavy, but kind of shoddy axes. And the, which ones are these guys? These guys are Black Ears, yeah. The Black Ears, and they're basically skirmish cavalry with their javelins and not much else. As for the actual Royce infantry, we have their warriors, which are just heavy swordsmen. Same thing for the Northern Vale. They also both have these mountaineers. What mountaineers are, they're basically like Roman legionaries, where they have their quote-unquote Pila attack, but they also have their heavy sort of swordsmen and swords and whatnot. So yeah, these guys are pretty tough. Good in hand-to-hand combat. And then finally, they have the levies in the back here. And that's it for the Royces. The Arryns have a slightly smaller roster because they only have one big region. But they start off with their Knights of the Vale here, which are pretty badass cavalry too. Not quite as good as the Rune Riders, but still quite good. And then they also have their Riders. These are actually very good Outriders. They have both spears and swords, and they're actually really effective. So yeah, they're probably the best, well, at least one of the best non-knight cavalry in the game. Then there's these levies here, they're sort of they're generic Vale levies. But they're also quite good and all. The Arryns have a very heavy roster. And then they have these Frozen Sea Sergeants here. These are basically from Three Sisters and the Paps and Pebble, which are these islands off the coast of the Vale. And they'll start as rebels, as rebel regions, but the Arryns can try and conquer them pretty early in the game. As for the main body of their force, they'll have these heavy swordsmen from the Vale. They'll have halberds, no pikes, but they'll have lots of halberds, and the halberds are quite good as well. They'll have these Pavis crossbowmen here from the Frozen Sea. They'll also have their regular crossbowmen here from the Vale. And that is mostly it for the Arryn roster, I believe. It's only one recruitment region, so yeah, it's only guys from the Vale. But yeah, lots and lots of cavalry. Good cavalry, heavy infantry, somewhat expensive, but still quite good. Facing off against them is House Greyiron of the Iron Islands. So they will, the way I've set it up in the Iron Islands is that Harlaw and Great Wyke are now going to be rebel controlled, but in terms of custom battles, the Grey Irons will have access to the Good Brother rosters, while the Greyjoys of Pike will have access to the Harlaw rosters. So here you see they have Good Brother Spearmen, which are basically these heavy armored spearmen from Great Wyke, or Great Wick, or whatever it's pronounced as well as their own heavy spearmen from Orkmont. Then these here are Farwind Raiders, or Sunset Sea Raiders, as they're called. House Farwind rules this tiny little castle way off in the middle of the ocean called Lonely Light, which is now a rebel settlement in the game. And so you can conquer it and recruit these guys. They also have their own raiders from Great Wick and from Orkmont. These are basically just good heavy infantry. I've taken away their armor-piercing ability, which doesn't really affect the single-player experience much, but in multiplayer for hot seat campaigns, this will make their armies way less overpowered, so they aren't going to be able to just massacre everything instantly. These here are their drowned men. These are these they aren't terribly good at combat. They are basically carry these driftwood cudgels and their priests, but they have a really good chant ability that basically will buff the infantry nearby. Taking up their center line, we have a bunch of archers here from Orkmont. Lots of Orkmont archers, and then these Great Wick axe throwers, which are pretty badass. So yeah, these guys can do a lot of damage, and they're pretty good in hand-to-hand combat as well. Basically, they're equivalent of raiders in hand-to-hand combat, but they have a spear and axe throwing ability as well, so they're pretty good to recruit. Over here, more spearmen, more raiders. And then also they have some kind of crummy cavalry here from Great Wick. No cavalry on Pike or Orkmont, but Great Wick and Harlow both have the ability to recruit cavalry from their specific houses. And yeah, one thing that I've done is that I've added sigils for a bunch of random Ironborn houses and all, like House Torrent and whatnot. Or not House Torrent, they're House... What are they called? Well, whatever. I've added lots of sigils for different houses. They aren't all going to be sort of quote-unquote house buildings like they have for like the house buildings for a bunch of different factions and whatnot. I said it. Anyways. They aren't going to be house buildings, but they are going to be appearing on the unit shields for the Ironborn, because they only have one house building per island. And then finally they have these Chosen, which are these elite heavy axe infantry. They're really good in hand-to-hand combat, and they're probably one of the best infantry in the game. So that's it for the Grey Irons. I've replaced the Hoars with the Greyjoys because now that we know the origin of House Hoar, they're kind of boring, and I just figured let's go with the Greyjoys instead. There's really no reason not to, and the Greyjoys I think look kind of cooler. So they'll also have their drowned men. They'll have their Greyjoy raiders, as well as their Harlaw raiders as well. Instead of spearmen, they have these heavy swordsmen from Harlaw and Pike, because Harlaw and Pike are much more sort of Andalized, I guess. They trade a lot more with the Greenlands, and so they'll have more Greenland-like technology, like swordsmen and whatnot. They will, however, still have their axemen, which are quite good, as well as archers from Pike, specifically. Then they'll have more of their heavy swordsmen, which are going to be their sort of elite units. More raiders, more drowned men, and finally their light cavalry. They aren't very good cavalry, but they're still cavalry, and yeah, they're good for chasing guys down and whatnot. So that is it for the rosters. I'm going to play through the battle here, just to see how it goes, test them out. And that's mostly it. I hope you enjoyed the preview. Hope you're hopefully getting stoked for the actual release, which should happen somewhat soon. I also finished the Riverland rosters and all of the unit cards, and so things are coming along pretty nicely. I'm going to try and take out the Greyjoys first. Let's go skirmish with these drowned men, see if we can take off a few of them with our black ears here. These guys are really good skirmish infantry, but they're suck at everything else, so I really want to avoid hand-to-hand combat with them. And their axe throwers are moving in here. Let's try and whittle their numbers down before they can do much. And let's charge in here with our cavalry. I have my big armored fist of super rune riders here. The enemy has the hill advantage, but I think that's not going to matter in this case. Let's reform you all to face the enemy. The Arons are rushing in, and the Grey Irons are rushing down to fight them. This should be interesting. The Aron cavalry should win this hands down. They're just much better. They have their heavy swords, their bigger shields, better armor. And their knights are probably going to run over these guys pretty quickly too. I think one mistake that I made in 1.0 when I designed it was I made the Ironborn rosters a bit too overpowered with the abilities and whatnot because they had so little utility when it came to single-player battles. It's very easy to sort of kill these guys with cavalry and whatnot if you can use it well, but when you auto-resolve, they're massively overpowered because the game auto-resolving kind of sucks. Anyways, though, I have my Rune Riders engaging here along with my regular old Outriders, and these guys should do quite a bit of damage. I'm going to charge in the rest of my army here, and it looks like some of these guys are already routing. And here come my guys. We've got about 10,000 men on the battlefield right now. One upside of Medieval 2 as a game is that it's pretty old, so you can easily be able to run big battles on it. And it looks like my cavalry is dead, unfortunately. Who engaged with them? Did they get shot at, or did they just get in? Why the hell did you guys fight up here? Okay, yeah, so my cavalry got wiped out because they actually got into hand-to-hand combat with the enemy. But if they come back, I can use them as skirmishers, though. And yeah, they've come back, so I'm going to try and skirmish down these warriors here. They should be able to stay out of range from them. And I've got my mountaineers and stuff up here. Let's see. These archers are routing now. Let's send the stone crows up here to deal with these warriors. And let's send my Runeland Outriders to go chase these archers down before they come back. And I've got my burned men moving up the flank here. And my Rune Riders are taking very few casualties because Rune Riders are totally freaking badass. Like I said before, they are definitely the best unit in the game, in my opinion. They are, like I said, I made them like 2,000 gold apiece to buy, which is way more than really anything else should have any right to be. But that's because they're that good. They're worth it. And here, let's send you guys up here. Yeah, so like I mentioned before, I finished the Riverlands too, so the only rosters left to do are just the Dornish, and that's it. Which, they should take a little while, because the Dornish should prove somewhat difficult, but once I have them nailed down, that shouldn't be much of a problem. Let's have you guys chase down these guys. Or maybe engage with their cavalry, while you guys go fight these axe throwers. If I can get my Rune Riders to engage these light cavalry, they will just wipe them out instantly. Though they're trying to tangle with my Outriders right now. Let's see. Then, meanwhile, over here, the Arryns and the Ironborn are fighting each other. They've routed some of these guys here, which is worrying. And they have their raiders chasing after them. In fact, the raiders seem to be doing much better than I thought they would. Yeah, they're just routing these Arryns here. I think it's their heavy infantry, and I think I haven't taken the armor-piercing abilities off of them yet. But these guys should fall pretty soon, though. And plus I have a big enough army left over right now that it shouldn't be much of a problem regardless. And what are you guys doing? Where are you guys? It looks like we chased off the cavalry already, which is nice. Let's send you guys to go help the Arryns. Where am I? You guys. Or, oh shit, that's not good. So, it looks like I will definitely need to go bail out my allies here. And yeah, that's pretty much done with. Let's rush all you infantry back to go deal with them. My stone crows are about to get charged, and they will probably get their asses handed to them. They are still steady, surprisingly. Huh? And my Rune Riders are just running over the enemy. I think what happened was a lot of the Greyjoy units were able to sneak off here and fight there. Looks like the Arryns are putting up a bit of a last-ditch fight around here. I don't think they'll be able to hold for long, but they might be able to do something. Fortunately, their raiders have been getting engaged with their crummy units at the moment. And yeah, they're just getting totally routed. They aren't going to last long. Here, alright, we've broken their cavalry, good. Let's charge in here. I don't think I'll finish this battle off, honestly. I should have seen all I need to see there. But yeah, these are the rosters of the Vale of Arryn and the Iron Islands. Expect a Dornish roster pretty soon, along with a Riverlands roster. I'll have them be fighting a massive battle. And after that, expect a release sometime in the near or distant future. After that, it's going to be a process of doing the beta testing, finishing up the strat placement, some stuff like that, doing some building work, but that shouldn't take that long. So expect a release kind of sort of soonish. Admiral Thrawn signing off.